Hello and welcome to Maths Class. I am Chantel Schmidt and basically I recap Married at First Sight for Pedestrian TV, and then I also do a podcast with Ollie Skelton from season 10 in 2023. And I thought, if I'm going to watch this shit anyway, I may as well do a little YouTube series where I basically go through the lessons that I'm learning that I can apply in my everyday relationships, whether that be friendships, romantic relationships, what have you. How can we watch this show and reflect on what's going on in our own lives and either change shit up or replicate it? So the first thing I want to talk about is, I'm going to go in chronological order. So first episode, we meet Sarah and Tim. Now, if I learn anything from this pairing, which is that they seem like a perfect match, right? You've got Sarah, who is Colombian born, and you've got Tim, who went to Colombia and loves Colombia. Then you've got two people who were both cheated on and it both really hurt them, and they both never want to be cheated on again, and they have new boundaries in their lives and blah, blah, blah. So you've got all of these things that say these people are going to be perfect together, right? And then they meet and that seems like the way it is. Like, we go on our first dates and we go, oh my God, this person's amazing. They're all of these boxes that I want to be ticked. And then as you get to know them a little bit better, you go, okay, just because this person is good on paper, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be good with me in a relationship, because you can tick some boxes, but there are other boxes that don't really come out until buttons are pushed, etc., which is what this show is so damn good for, is revealing these parts of relationships that aren't otherwise explored this early on in the timeline of a normal relationship. So another thing I want to talk about in terms of lessons learned with Tim and Sarah, this one is a little bit more lighthearted, but the lesson that we learn here is that you can never trust your partner's best friend and what they might say at your wedding, okay? I remember saying a speech for my best friend as maid of honor, and I read it out to like 3 different people just to sense check whether or not it was going to fly. And the sense checking things were like still things that weren't even that bad. Nothing compared to what Tim's best friend, I think his name was Ben, said on Tim's wedding day, which was basically that he loves experiments and that's why he is a great candidate for the experiment that is Married at First Sight. And the experiments that he's undertaken include, but are not limited to, head in a moving car, highly illegal by the way, do not condone, and then also getting head in the ER after head in the car, which is that's how I interpreted it. Anyway, then he also tells Sarah that, Tim basically ate this 4-day-old chicken at a music festival and then uses that to then jump into a joke that says, but at least you can rest assured that Tim will still eat you. That was his words, rancid or not. Obviously, it was in a different order, the speech. I'll put up a little clip, but how horrific is that? And I get that they don't know each other, but also they don't know each other. So what a horrible, horrible first impression. But in terms of how it applies to, our lives where we actually marry people after we have known them and have fallen in love with them, etc., of course, you're going to know the best man a little bit better. But I just don't think that, married or not, however much time you've spent with someone, I don't think you will ever know the personality that goes down with the boys versus what goes down with you, right? And I do not think that men should not be allowed to have boys chat, whatever. But I do not think that men should be allowed to have boys chat that is disrespectful to their partner, which is what this was. And I know this man does not know Sarah. That's worse, in my opinion. You're disrespecting, you're talking about her anatomy, and you're doing that on a very public stage, not just in front of all your wedding guests, but in front of all of Australia, which is horrific. Anyway, moving on. Next episode. Well, do we want to jump to the next episode? Let me talk about someone else who was in the first episode. We had Tristan and Cassandra, and I think that it's a hard one, right? Because Cassandra has been through such extraordinary pain in her life, including her boyfriend that passed away, and then also her mother passed away from cancer 2 years ago, both of which are extremely difficult situations to face in your life. And I think we're going to learn things from her as the season goes on. I don't know that we're necessarily learning it now, because I think that we're in that stage of the experiment where unless you are drama and unless you can bring chaos to the table, we're not going to see a whole lot of you, right? And that's fine. But I am really interested to see what we learn about the grieving process from Cassandra and how moments in this experiment can bring up these things for her that she has experienced in her life, including death. Okay, so next couple. Who is the next couple? Episode 2. Oh, Lucinda Light and Timothy. I think, again, just echoing what I was saying about Cassandra, I think we're going to learn a lot from Timothy on the area of grieving and the important role that family plays in identity. I think that, obviously I am not Timothy and I don't know him, but I can only imagine that he is having a severe identity crisis without having any of his family alive anymore. And I can't even imagine what he would be going through, how this is going to come up and how this is going to surface, especially only losing his dad 6 weeks ago, right? That is really, really, really recent. I'm actually really glad that he's been paired with someone like Lucinda, because I think that Lucinda is the right comforting and nurturing person, even though people are going to jump to conclusions and say she's woo-woo, which, yeah, like she is, right? But that does not mean that she cannot care for him in the way that he needs to be cared for right now. It's a huge expectation and a huge responsibility. But I think if I've learned anything there as well, it's that just because someone might seem a bit airy-fairy or just not judge a book by its cover, really. And it's a lesson that we've consistently learned on this experiment. But, I was very quick to disregard Lucinda when I saw her in the trailers, and seeing this really vulnerable and beautiful side of her and how she's able to be patient with Timothy and how she's able to understand him considering what he's been through is really amazing. And obviously on this show, I never, ever want to speak too soon, but I'm really getting a good vibe from Lucinda. I think she's a great person. I think that in my everyday life, if I met her, I would probably joke about the way that she is, or I would probably say, oh yeah, she's great, but not someone for me. And I think that if we can learn anything from this experience, it's that, I think we always apply this to romantic relationships, but I think that what I've learned is that I would have been quick to disregard someone like Lucinda as a friend. And I think that maybe I need to be a little bit more considerate of what that person might be like if you get to know them and give them the chance to reveal themselves and reveal parts of themselves that you might relate to. Okay, who else was in that episode? Tori and Jack. I think that rather than this being a lesson from Jack, I think it's a reiteration for a lot of women. If a man says something like he'll sort you out, if he refers to you as this chick, not your actual name, if he is obsessed with the gym in a way that makes fun of you for not being obsessed with the gym. I know that it's his profession, but the way in which he was talking about, how can she not ask what gym I go to, right? No other profession would you do that, right? You're not asking, almost if she did do that for any other profession, it would come across as invasive, or it would come across as, like she's searching for some kind of validation or some kind of what am I trying to say? It's like, say for example, I work at a branch for a bank. Oh, what bank? Because they want to know what brand, because does it make you look better or worse? And that's not really what your career is about. It's not what or who you're working for. It's the work that you do, right? Does that make sense? Sorry, I went a really, really roundabout way. But anyway, what I'm saying is that it reiterates that there are certain types of traits that can come out in men that should continue to raise alarm bells for you. Now, I don't know Jack. I don't know what we're going to learn about him. But I know that there are a lot of women, if you guys follow me on TikTok, I've been posting sort of my reactions to this show as we go along. And there are a lot of women that are feeling really, really triggered by the sort of comments that he makes, or, relationships that they've been in that they can see mirrored in this. Now, that's not fair completely on Jack, because I understand that, there are some amazing, beautiful people that might say something that might trigger, someone in a completely roundabout way. But I know that the things that he is saying aren't necessarily productive to a boosted self-esteem in a woman, right? Like the way that he has responded to Tori asking him this week in the Maths Honesty box whether or not he's sexually attracted to her. It can be really, really hard to come back from that and boost your self-esteem. I'm also of the feeling that, honesty is great, but I also feel like there's a few mixed messages when it comes from Jack, not necessarily to Tori, but to us as a viewer, because he has said to Tori, it can take me a while to find this physical sexual attraction with someone. But then he's told producers, I know within 10 seconds. So it is a little bit confusing and a little bit worrying, because then I don't know, is he leading Tori on? Is he saying that just to lessen the blow rather than tell her how he actually feels, which is, I don't think I can see that with you. And in the past, if I haven't seen that with someone in the first 10 seconds, I don't see it at all, because that would break her heart too. And I understand that then puts Jack at a really big predicament, because it's like, well, damned if I do, damned if I don't, right? And I think it's important for us to all remember that obviously the show is edited, but obviously these people are in a really fucked up position where they know anything and everything they say will be used against them. They know that if they're completely honest, that Australia will villainize them. So what did I learn from this experience? What should we learn from this experience? I think that we should be digging deeper and asking more questions if someone gives us a little bit of a vague answer. I think that curiosity is always welcome. It should be in relationships, and I understand it's hard, because the more you ask questions, then the more it might make you look insecure, which is not great, right? And it might make you feel insecure rather than just look insecure. So it's a really fine balance, but I think that ask questions and also question the situation that you're in. If your best friend's coming to you and saying this guy is a walking red flag, your friends know you better than anyone, and people that are able to sit on the outside and look in are your biggest warriors when it comes to understanding the situation that you're in, because fuck me dead, it is very, very hard to see something for what it is when you are in the middle of it. Okay, next couple, Ben and Ellie. Oh, I skipped forward, but let's just go to Ben and Ellie, right? Because they're in the same week. They were a really, really boring wedding, if I do say so myself. I think that Ellie has a sad story, right? She had this whole life mapped out for her, and then her partner to be, or husband to be, basically comes home from what I'm deciding to assume is a bender, because he came home at an odd hour in the morning and told her that he doesn't love her anymore, which is a wild thing to experience, especially when you think that, your life's going to look a certain way. So that's horrible. And then she's been paired with Ben, I believe his name is, who, my camera keeps doing a weird thing, I'm sorry, who people keep being concerned about because they think, well, he's got a podcast and he was a tour guide, so he must be just trying to promote his business, which, it's maths, whatever. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. If they get that, great. If they get love, even better. If they get both, awesome. So I don't know if I've really learned a lesson there. Maybe I'll learn one along the way. But at the moment, the only kind of lesson I'm learning is that you can't trust your partner, even if you've been with them for over 6 years, because things can change at the drop of a hat. And that literally everyone in the universe has a podcast. I mean, that's all I'm really learning from those two. Jaden and Eden, again, two people that have been cheated on quite badly in their relationships. Eden was cheated on by her partner with her lifelong best friend, which just breaks my bloody heart. Imagine losing basically two of your best friends at once. The other one's just one that you sleep with, the one's not, really, essentially. that would be a real fucking hit to the self-esteem. I can't imagine how she's clambered back from that. Obviously, she's beautiful. She's been paired with Jaden. Jaden is Mitch from season 9's brother. Mitch is the guy that was with Ella Ding. And yeah, it looks like she's in good hands. It looks like Jaden is a big sensitive soul on the inside, even though he's got a tough professional kickboxer exterior. Again, lessons learnt there is just don't trust anyone because of what Eden went through. Also what Jaden went through because he was cheated on. But yeah, I guess trust is a big learning thing so far in terms of just meeting these people. And I think that as we go along and actually see more couples be formed, this will change a little bit. Now, who else? There's one couple that I'm missing. Jaden and Eden. Oh, Collins and Natalie. Okay, so Collins has never gotten past the first date with anyone. He's never been in a relationship. And then you've got Natalie, who's been in like a 7-year relationship, if I recall correctly. And she is a physio, I believe, or a nurse or something in the medical field. And she says she's not like other girls a lot. And her reasons for not being like other girls is because she's a cosplayer and she games. And look, I've met plenty of girls that do that. And also, I don't really like this I'm not like other girls narrative. Like, what's wrong with other girls? We're all sick. We're all amazing. Like, let's stop saying I'm not like other girls because it kind of has a negative connotation and other girls are great. So I don't like this not like other girls shit, and it's just not true, really, because she's like plenty of other girls. I mean, she likes Taylor Swift. Come on. Anyway, Collins is not vibing. In the beginning, he was like, oh, you know, really good energy. And then by the reception, he was like, too much bloody energy. He's putting up, you know, pillow walls so that, you know, nothing gets miscommunicated in the middle of the night. He's telling her he wants to take a step back, etc., etc. I think if we can learn anything here, it's that people who have only been on one date, not gotten to the second date of any relationship, you got to go bloody slow because they've never gotten to that vulnerable emotional stage with anyone, really. I mean, obviously some first dates can move really quickly and get to that stage really, really quickly, but a lot of them don't. A lot of people take time to reveal certain parts of themselves, and I really do feel for Collins. I hope that they can be more vulnerable with each other because I think that not only Collins will like Natalie, but I think all of Australia will like Natalie if she just shows the other part of herself, which we all know is there, right? It's just more that, sorry, my screen's wigging out. If anyone can help me with doing a YouTube channel off my phone, please, I'm all ears. Anyway, I think that, yeah, there's another side of Natalie that we'd all really enjoy if we only got to see it, and only if Collins got to see it too. Because if I've learned anything about bigger personalities or energetic personalities, it's that there's usually a really nice soft side to complement it, and a lot of people don't know that. That's why so many people say, oh, if you just got to know them, you'd really love them, right? And I think that Natalie is probably a case of that. Could be wrong, but I guess we'll find out, because if the show does anything, it's embarrassed me with my initial interpretations or predictions. So can't wait to be wildly humiliated and for it to be on the internet for everyone to see. Anyway, this is my first go at a maths recap, maths class, maths lessons that I've learned interpreting the show by looking at my own life and where I could be better and where I'm already doing things and where I think that other people should just be mindful. And another thing we should be mindful of is the edit. Always. I'm always looking at this show as if I'm commenting on characters, not people. And I know that these are people, but there's just no way I can comment on an entire person because I won't see all of them. I won't see all of them even if the whole episode was about them. People are just way more complex than that. We all know this. So just a friendly reminder. Anyway, please leave comments. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. Sorry about the background. I'm moving at the moment, and this is what it's going to be until there is a new background, obviously. And anyway, you can follow me on TikTok at Chantal Schmidt. You can follow me at Instagram at Chantal Schmidt. You can read my pedestrian recaps. Every episode I am recapping. The written format of my recaps is very, very different. So go check that out, www.pedestrian.tv. You'll be able to find a maths article on the homepage, which will direct you to one of my recaps. Otherwise, link in bio on my Instagram at Chantal Schmidt. I also do recaps with Ollie Skelton, as I said in the beginning of this episode. I do that once a week, Thursday, Friday. That episode will usually come out. The programming of this season has been a bit funky because I think of the Australian Open and it started off on the wrong foot. So I'm thinking that it's going to go back to Sunday to Wednesday nights. Still a lot of nights, 4 nights a week, a lot to unpack, probably 8 to 9 weeks of this. So yeah, rather than me, I don't know, throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, I'd love to hear what you think and what we should do more of, should do less of, etc., etc. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Goodbye.